Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. I am a business strategist and also the founder of the Powerful Women Rising community, where we are having so much fun. Are you in there with us or what? The Powerful Women Rising community is an online networking space. Don't poo-poo, because I know you don't like online and I know you don't like networking. Listen, people, I don't like online and I don't like networking, and I created this community. So trust me when I say all of the things that you don't like about online and all of the things that you don't like about networking are not in the Powerful Women Rising community. What is in the Powerful Women Rising community, however, is a whole bunch of supportive, positive, action-focused women who are just as dedicated to the success of their business as you are. They want to network with you like a human and not like a salesy weirdo. They want to provide value and get value from others. They want to grow their business through genuine connections and relationships, and they are doing it in that group. So we have a networking call, we have an incredible mastermind call, and we have an exclusive Facebook group where you can share your offers, your events, you can share your celebrations, you can ask questions, you can get advice from other people. It is just amazing. And we want you to be there with us. So click the link in the show notes, check us out. Guess what we're talking about today? Well, you already know, you cheated. You looked at the description and the title. I am talking to Natalie Bullen. We are talking about your relationship with sliding into the DMs. Now, listen, I know you are like, what is happening here? You always talk about not being a salesy weirdo, and now you're going to talk about selling to people in the DMs. Yes, I am. And I talked to Natalie a lot before this interview, and I was like, listen, we talk about authenticity. We talk about being genuine. We talk about being real humans and creating connections, not being salesy weirdos. So can you talk about sliding into the DMs in a way that will not make people salesy weirdos? She said, yes, I can. I said, I will be the judge of that. And guess what? After this interview, I actually thought maybe doing some sales in the DMs is not a bad idea. Because Natalie, she's on our level, y'all. She wants to be real. She wants to be upfront about what her intentions are. She wants to create relationships. She doesn't want to be annoying in the DMs. She's not that person. And she is talking about how we can do that too. So we talk about what led her to start pitching her services in the DMs, why it works so much better for her than other things that she's tried, why selling in the DMs gets such a bad rap, and how she generates trust online beforehand so that when she sends the outreach messages, she is more successful and doesn't come across as a salesy weirdo. So I hope that regardless of whether you are currently selling in the DMs, whether you have all of your DMs closed so that no salesy weirdos can talk to you, whatever end of the spectrum that you're on, listen to this interview because you're going to get some nuggets, I think, that are going to make you think about it a little bit differently. And listen, we can't get rid of all the salesy weirdos in your DMs, but one at a time, Natalie and I, we're working on it. Okay. So listen to this interview. I would love to hear what you think, and I would love to see you over in the Powerful Women Rising community. So click that link. Here we go. Natalie Bullen is a pricing strategist and sales coach from Mobile, Alabama. As the owner, I don't know why I said it like that. It's apparently impossible to say Mobile, Alabama without doing a terrible version of the accent. As the owner of Unapologetic Wealth LLC, she teaches coaches, consultants, and expert online service providers to raise their prices, view sales as service, and unlock their sales genius so they can step into the wealth that they deserve. Here's my interview with Natalie. Hello, Natalie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, me too. I was just recording another interview right before yours, and I told her what our topic was today about sliding into the DMs. And she was like, I can't wait to hear that, because we were talking like, even if you're coming from the most sincere, genuine place, I feel like when someone messages me and is like, hey, thanks for the friend request, how's your day going? I'm like, nope, nope, not falling for this.
Lucky for you, I don't do that or teach that. So,
okay, good. You are not, listen, everybody, write this down. She's not going to teach you to start your message with, hey, hun.
at all.
There is no hey, hun in this world. Okay, so we're talking about how to do that in a way that is genuine and creates actual connections. That's not all sleazy and salesy and weird, because that's why people don't like people in their DMs. So let's start first. Just tell everybody a little bit about you and about your relationship with DMs.
Yeah, I'm Nat Bullen, and I own Unapologetic Wealth, coaching and consulting firm that predominantly helps with revenue generation. So that's sales, messaging, lead gen, and I love selling in the DMs. It is one of my favorite things to do, and I didn't realize it was so hated until I started posting about it, until I started making content around this is what you can do. And I closed this big sale in the DMs, and the vitriol, people were like, ew, what do you mean you sell in the DMs? What do you mean you send these messages? And what if people don't respond? And what if they hate you? And I realized I was onto something. And also that if done well, your DMs can replace your sales calls. They can replace your sales pages. They can replace your live launches. So if you're the type of person that's like me, I'm low energy, I have chronic fatigue. If you hate tech, if you don't want a big team, if you don't have a $800 an hour copywriter that can write your sales pages, you might be able to circumvent all of that by making genuine one-on-one relationships in the DM. So excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, that's fascinating. How did you discover this? Like, what led you to start pitching your services in the DMs?
I think there's two things that happened. One, I got booked out in demand. I literally did not have time to take a sales call, which is a ridiculous problem to have, right? I fully want to admit I had a champagne problem. Okay. This is not to brag. It was an SOS. My calendar was packed with client calls, with podcast interviews, marketing, content days for my podcast and YouTube channel, getting on a call for 30, 40 minutes with somebody who may have been dishonest in the intake form, or who may not be anywhere near ready to buy, just still gathering information. But I've had to spend 20 minutes researching them, 5 minutes taking notes, 40 minutes listening, sending a follow-up email. Why am I investing 60 to 75 minutes on average on a person that maybe only 50 to 55% of the time is going to say yes? And then maybe 20% of those people, you come to find out later, maybe aren't the best fit. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I was going to start pre-screening people in the DMs, asking them some questions before I allowed them to get my booking link to make sure that I had the time. Conversely, at the same time, my content was getting better. My messaging on Facebook was getting better. I was positioning myself as a thought leader. And so I found that I had tons of buying signals, warm engagers, people who were interested and invested in me that were already connected on Facebook. So why try to pull those people off Facebook and get them on sales calls and get their email addresses? Why create sales friction when I could just pull those conversations into Facebook Messenger and carry on what we started on the call? So there's really two important things that happened. I just got too busy for calls, and I realized that I might be able to circumvent them in a really natural way that kept people's defenses down. If you're engaging on my post on Facebook, you're enjoying my content, you see me as a leader, and I slide in your DMs and introduce myself, you're much less likely to have your defenses up than if I go on that post and try to send you a booking link and tell you to book a sales call, right? Like I've created an objection. So I actually found it was easier to switch to this method, and I just never switched back.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. So tell me...
It's not bad. It's pretty clever.
It makes sense when you're saying it and you're talking about it. Like, it totally makes sense, right? Because if you think about the number of people who click on the booking link, first of all, okay, let's say I've got 1,000 people in my audience. I've got maybe 200 people that are going to click on the booking link. Of those 200 people, maybe 100 of them are actually going to fill out the questions. Of those 100 people, maybe 20, these are completely made up numbers, 20 of them are going to say yes, I'm ready to invest. I have the resources. Let's get on a call. Out of those 20, maybe 10 of them on a good day are actually going to book a call. Of those 10, maybe 5 of them are actually going to show up to the call. And then maybe 3 of them are actually going to hire me. And maybe one of them I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm so glad this person hired me. Right. So there's a lot of steps and a lot of process getting to the place where we want to be, which is where someone has given us money and retained our services. So to have that shortcut to that is very appealing.
Right. It's very appealing. And, there are ways to maximize sales calls that's outside of our scope of today to get more people to show, but it doesn't negate the time that you're spending on the calls. And for me, the time became the factor. And having asynchronous communication, which is all DMs are. So if you're already using Loom to replace your team meetings, you already are using asynchronous communication. If your team uses Slack, you're already using asynchronous communication. That's all this is desynchronizing my sales process. Instead of saying you and I will meet at 2:00 on Thursday to talk about this, it's, hey, I know you're busy. I know you have children. Most of my clients are either have ADHD or autism or OCD or some other term that they'll consider themselves to be neurodivergent. They don't always they have the interest in sitting on a call and hearing lots of data all at one time. People with children or have special needs, situations, or parents, like there's just lots of things going on, like life, the pandemic. There are lots of reasons why it is unpalatable for people to say, yes, I'm going to give you 30 to 60 minutes of my time to sit in a quiet room, no kids, no pets, and listen to your pitch. And a lot of those people you shouldn't have been on the phone with anyway. So I like to teach people a method where you've gotten enough information about your prospect to know if they're a good fit. And then if you want to invite them on a call from the DMs, go for it. Yeah. But if you feel confident that you know enough information to sell them into your service, you have the green light to be able to do that as well. And the beautiful thing about selling to adults is that you can ask for permission. I think that's what's missing from most people's sales process. There's no permission. The reason you hate those spammy, pushy, hey, I'm so-and-so and I run the so-and-so Facebook groups for this kind of entrepreneur. I see where you're a coach. How long have you been doing that? Can I send you the link to join my group? And we have a 3-day challenge and it started yesterday, but you can get in on it now. And then we have an ebook and it's $17. They just throw all this crap at you. And it's like,
yes,
I don't know you. I'm not interested. And then they get pushy when you say no. They get pissed off. And then you have this whole, it's bad. Whereas if somebody were to actually research you and reach out and say something that was actually applicable or useful to you, you probably wouldn't be so upset, especially if you could go online and look them up and be able to see, oh, this person actually is really intelligent. They're running a whole business. They have something going on that makes sense to me. Even if you don't need it, you're not going to be pissed off. You're not going to be thinking to yourself, this was a really bad situation that I got myself into. You're going to think, thanks for reaching out, but no thanks. And I'm okay with that outcome. I'm much more okay with that outcome than you getting on a sales call and telling me no thank you when I've invested an hour of my time. And you can't really be mad at people for wasting your time if you aren't pre-screening them. Because what most people do in their sales process is very ineffective. Like you mentioned, the average sales call process has an ineffective questionnaire. So it has questions, but they're not questions that assess people's readiness or their fit or their budget. So you've got people booking calls that have no clue how much your service costs, and they have not stated what they're willing to pay. There's no question around, are you ready to move forward immediately if you were selected? And there's nothing in your application that creates scarcity or urgency. So you've got people filling out questionnaires that basically are just information gathering. What's your name? What's the name of your business? How long have you been in business? What do you do on the weekend? Just stuff that's completely immaterial to the thing being sold. And then you've got to get on the phone and pull teeth. You've got to get on the phone and put on a full song and dance because your prospect has no idea what they walked into. Whereas if you were to get a DM from me, say I saw you online and you had made a post about the virtual speed networking event. And I thought to myself, You know what? I've led a speed networking event, and it was very, very hard to sell people into. I wonder if Melissa is having a hard time getting people into it, like I had a hard time getting people into mine. And I got in your DMs and went, hey, Melissa, I hope you're doing well. Hey, I see where you've got a virtual speed networking event on the 13th. I'm checking in just as market research. Has it been easy for you to sell people into it, or have you found that your high ticket stuff sells better?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you might ignore it, or you might be thinking it's the 7th. That's on the 13th. I've got 2 people registered and I hope for 50. And you might respond, girl, it has been hard as hell to get people in this thing. How did you know that? Mm-hmm. By the way, Natalie, I see you everywhere online. You're crushing it. Mm-hmm. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you so much. You know, I actually had a similar experience. Low ticket just never worked for me. And every marketer I hired kept trying to get me to run a low ticket funnel, a workshop and a podcast and stuff. Have you ever just felt like you should just sell your high ticket stuff only? And you might write, you know, I'm kind of starting to think that way. I don't think that this is working. And I go, well, look, it's no pressure at all. But this is what I do. I actually help people move from mid-ticket to high ticket. And I consider mid-ticket anything between maybe $1,000 and $2,500. And I specialize in getting people selling $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 services. If you have any interest in that at all, let me know, because I might be able to help. Mm-hmm. That's not a DM that you're going to say, this was spammy, this was pushy, she's crazy, she doesn't know me, just because I was able to pick up on something you actually have going on. The main reason people hate DMs is because there's no research. They're canned. They're sending the same message to everyone. I actually got a DM once that had the insert name here in the brackets.
That's
they forgot to
or the wrong name. I also like that one.
I have gotten wrong name too, but the insert name here was hilarious because you knew they had bought a template. And I actually don't sell sales scripts for that reason, because it needs to sound like you. Yeah. And it needs to be relevant to the prospect. If I would have messaged you and went, hey, I see where your husband's an engineer and I coach women whose husbands are engineers into starting their own businesses, and you think my husband's not an engineer, I immediately lost credibility with you. There's nothing I'm going to be able to say from that point on. So that's why it's so important. If you're sliding in DMs, you got to come correct, because there's already a stigma that this is a scam at worst and a waste of time at best. Yeah. Very few people think I'm going to get value from this DM that I'm about to open. I'm going to open this DM and it's going to be a pleasant experience. No one is thinking that. So you already have a hurdle in front of you. I feel like it's important for you to make sure that you are actually offering a value. That's why I don't like the immediate DM strategy, because I don't know what value I could offer you if I don't know anything about you at all. Mm-hmm. So I recommend to my clients to wait, make connections with people and wait 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, see what they post, let them see what you post, gain some virtual currency. It's called time. Mm-hmm. That's your virtual currency, okay? Give people time to acclimate to who you are and what you are about, instead of bombarding them immediately with content. If I was going to DM someone immediately, it would be a rapport building DM. It would have no expectation of response. So I would make it obvious that this is for you to read, not for you to respond. You have no obligation. And it would be quick, dry, to the point. And it wouldn't be a voice note, because sending voice notes to strangers is weird. It might be something like,
thank you.
That's super weird. And I'm not listening to that. I have anxiety. I'm not pressing that button and I don't know who you are. Hang it up. I don't care. You want to compliment me? You better type it out old school. But if I sent you a message, hey, Melissa, so excited about us connecting here on Facebook. A little bit about me. I'm Nat Bullen. I'm all things sales and revenue generation. I post like an obnoxious time per day. So just heads up. But it's funny and it's interesting, it's quirky and very lucrative in my corner of the internet. Hope you have a great day. And that's it. If I was going to send an immediate message, it would be, here's what to expect. Here's the lay of the land over here in my corner of the internet. Mm-hmm. That's not what people do. They lead with pitches. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know how you're going to be effective with that, because if you lead with a pitch, you didn't give the person the opportunity to give you permission. Yes. If you can get permission in the sales process, you've got such a higher percentage chance of closing.
Yes. 1 million%.
Because people feel like I'm interested some way hearing, and people just don't want to do that. They're lazy.
Mm-hmm. So this is what I hear in the example that you gave of like how you would reach out to me about my speed networking event and the questions that you asked and the way that you approach that. That feels very different to me than most of my experiences with DMs. And I wrote down a couple of things of like, this is the difference. One, you are talking about already establishing connections with people beforehand, right? So it's like you didn't just enter my space. Maybe you've been in my space, you've commented on some of my posts, I've commented on some of yours. We've had a dialogue like on the posts maybe. So I'm at least not like, who the hell is this person? Why is she DMing?
Exactly.
Right? Two, you're DMing me about something that you obviously know, like you've taken the time to figure out what's going on with me and what I do, and that what you have to offer in value is relevant. Like,
yes,
I just got a DM yesterday that cracked me up. I took a screenshot, but I haven't made a post yet on Instagram. One of those like, hey, we love what you're doing on Instagram and we want you to be an influencer and promote our stuff. And it was like all about baby fashion. Like, I've never had a baby in my life, for starters. Ain't no babies in this house that aren't kittens. So I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do with your baby fashions, but thank you. People think that they are really clever and like that we're not going to be able to tell the difference between their copy and pasted, like, hey, I really love what you're doing on your page. That's like very vague. Or like, I listened to your podcast and it's so helpful for women entrepreneurs. Like, bro, you've never listened to my podcast. It's very obvious. So I like that relevance piece of it. You talked about providing value over making a sale, right? You're not just like, hey, I see you're doing this thing. Do you want to buy my stuff? Because it'll really help you. It's like, no, I've had this experience. What was your experience like? Oh yeah, that happened for me too. It's like, have you tried this? So it's not just, hey, buy my stuff. It's like, there is actually a purpose to talking to me.
Exactly. Like it's a good use of your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
People leave DM conversations, even if they don't buy from me, they think this was a good investment of my time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I like the element of consent. I think that you are 100% right. That's something that's really missing. And just the like honesty and authenticity and being upfront about why you're messaging someone, right? Like that's one of the things that drives me crazy is when we go back and forth in 12 DMs and I'm still trying to figure out like, what is this lady's game? What does she want?
Right.
Why are we having this conversation?
Why are we doing this? And you are so kind because most people aren't going to give you 12 back and forth.
That was an exaggeration.
I know, but like in general, if you can't make it clear what you're after in 3 passes, you've lost your prospect.
Yeah.
And that's if they respond at all. But if you can get someone to respond, it's a ping pong game. You've normally got 3 hits of that paddle before your prospect is out. Right. So you got to make sure, and I would just rather be upfront with people and just tell them the truth about what I want initially and give them the opportunity to say, yes, I'm interested in that, or no, I'm not, and move on with their lives instead of trying to veil what I am attempting to do and sneak and hide and lie. Even if I did want to sell you something upfront, I'd be honest about that. Hey, Melissa, I know you don't know me that well, and this is the first DM that I've ever sent you. However, I have a time-sensitive thing. I'm doing an Ask Me Anything session at 8 p.m. tonight, and I thought about you as a thought leader out in this space that you might want to come. Would you like the Zoom link? Mm-hmm. Like if I really did want something immediately, just come out and ask. And that way you can say, no, I don't work in the evenings. 8 p.m. is late for me, but thanks.
Right.
Or you might say, oh, you know what? I've already got a coach and a consultant. I've got enough ideas swirling around in my head, but I appreciate it. Or you could say, hell yeah, I want to meet up with the Nat Bullen at 8 p.m. Pacific time tonight and whatever. Send me the Zoom link. But at least we all know. I hate the not knowing. And so I don't ever put my prospects in that situation. I think that's the number one thing that people mistake with DMs is that they're not honest with their intentions. Or maybe they're not clear of their intentions because the person DMing you is probably scared of shit too. That's the real problem. They're terrified right? So they don't want to ask you for any money because they don't like the spammy, pushy bots that you're getting. Those are fake accounts. They're sending you canned messages that they pay for. Real people like us are terrified to get in the DMs. Yeah. So they have to like tiptoe and tiptoe and tiptoe. I had a woman who was so frustrating to me. I wanted to coach her so badly after our tete-a-tete. She's an attorney. She made a post about a law in California that was going to affect the way that you could bill for memberships or any kind of recurring payment. There was some law that had been introduced or some bill that had been introduced that was going to pass as law in her legal opinion. And she thought that that California law might trickle down into other states. So she asked, hey, if you are running a membership, if you're running any kind of service with a recurring payment model, you need to be aware of this. And I have a free resource. Comment me and I'll send it to you. I commented me. She got in my DMs. Hey, I saw your comment. Do you still want the resource? I thought that was kind. She asked for permission. I said yes. She sent a video. I watched the video. She follows up. Hey, did you watch the video? I did. Do you have any questions? I had questions. Things are going great. Then instead of qualifying me for the service, she starts asking me about my dreams and goals and hopes and plans. And then instead of asking for the sale, she sends me another freebie. She sends me another lead magnet. And all I could think to myself was, you're an attorney. I've showed interest in a service. I'm launching a membership next month. I actually need this thing you're talking about. Why would you not offer it to me? Right. So I feel like, one, people are terrified up front of doing the wrong thing. But two, when they actually do get a bite in the DMs, they flounder because they don't have a roadmap. I don't believe in scripts, but I think every sales conversation needs to have certain points. There needs to be a connection and rapport building. Hey, Melissa, I see that you do such and such. I see you lived in Huntsville. I live in Huntsville. I see you went to Alabama A&M University. I went to A&M University. I see where you're in DC. I was in DC just last month. I see where you're running a networking event. I had one last Tuesday. I listened to your podcast. In particular, episode such and such with this person was very enlightening. You need to connect somehow, connect rapport, and then you need to get into the discovery. Does this person even have a problem? You need to pause to ask for permission, and then you can submit your proposal, whatever that looks like. And then the person can decide, are they yes or they no, or they maybe, or you're going to get on a call, or you're going to send a link, or you're going to send a proposal. Is there going to be more? It follows a structure. Very few people have any kind of structure. So they're so surprised when people respond, they have no idea what the next step is. So most people do really good with connect and rapport. People DM me all the time. Oh my God, Natalie, I love your stuff. It's great. Thanks. Thanks so much for watching. I watched your Facebook Live and it was perfect. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Crickets. Right? And it's like, I think some of those people were hoping to sell me something, right? I mean, some of them are happy about my content.
Yeah.
But some of them want my money and they don't ever get around to asking for it. It's almost like they get stuck. So if you are going to slide in the DMs, you need a plan. You wouldn't go on a road trip without a map. You would travel without packing certain things in your suitcase. Even if you, let's say I said you want an all expense paid trip to Bali and you gotta leave in 10 minutes. There are certain things you would put in your suitcase, even if you didn't know anything about Bali, right? You would pack underwear because you need underwear everywhere, right? You're going to pack sunscreen in case it's hot. You're going to pack a cell phone charger because who doesn't need a phone? Like, there's certain things. So there's certain things you need to be prepared to say or do in the DMs. Don't just message people. And then when they message back, now you're stuck. And now it's kind of on the recipient to move the conversation forward, but then they ghost you. Well, now you've moved things backwards. Do you remember the scale at the doctor's office, the old school scale that's got the brick, like the block that you have to slide, and then they have to tap the little thing to get, you know what I'm talking about? Like they have the 150 pound, the 200 pound. For a while, I looked light enough to where they would pick the 150 and tap towards 200. They finally figured out I'm 226. But I was fooling people for a little while, okay? That's what you're doing with sales. You're always tapping people closer to buying from you, or you're tapping them away from buying. Every interaction, right? Now you can do big things that move you, those big humps, those blocks. And that might be doing market research for people or doing conversion events or launches, right? Picking up the phone and actually giving your past clients a phone call. That might be a big brick. But the little taps that get you right up on your goal, that's the DM conversations and interactions. And, before we end this too, it doesn't have to all be on one day. I feel like people try to do like DM marathon. I have found that people are much more likely to buy from me when we have a regular cadence of relationship. Have you ever played The Sims? Did you ever play that game when you were younger? Okay. I don't mean like you're old now. I mean that the game is obsolete. Okay.
Listen, I'm old enough to know what you're talking about with the scale. So
okay, yeah, right. So in The Sims, if you wanted people to let's say you wanted a family, you wanted your sim to have 3 babies ASAP. You'd move your sim into a new neighborhood and someone would come walking by on the sidewalk, right? You'd click on them and say, talk. And you talk until they could flirt. And you flirt until they could make a dying profession of love. And then they would propose the first day and the other sim would accept it and they'd move in the house and they'd have a baby by Friday, right? There was a way to artificially accelerate relationships in video games. This is not a video game. Mm-hmm. This is not The Sims. You are not going to get a person who is cold and don't know you at all to the point of trusting you and paying you an invoice today. Yes. So stop it. You don't expect anybody to be your best friend in one day. You don't expect any man to fall in love with you in one day. You don't expect an employer to hire you in one day. I've never applied for a job, interviewed for a job, and got a job in one day.
Right.
That's not true. I actually have done that. But it was they needed help real bad, and I was physically in the store. But online, you've never applied for a job, interviewed for a job, and been offered a job in one day, probably not 1 week. Yeah. So I want you to remember there are human beings with lives and jobs and cats and dogs and sleep deprivation and chores and tasks and all kinds of stuff that are probably more important than responding to your DM. Mm-hmm. And until they know you and like you and trust you, they probably aren't going to move forward with you. So you can either build a know, like, and trust before you DM them, or you can try to build it during. I like to build it on the front end because it makes people much more likely to respond. You also need to accept the limitations of what you can do in the DMs. Some services need sales calls.
Yeah.
If you want 6 months of private coaching with me, I am not closing you in the DMs. I've done that before. You cannot tell if people are crazy, okay? People might have legitimate issues. They might not be self-led. They might have an active mindset practice. No, you want long-term coaching with me? We're going to show up like this, and I'm going to see how you think and the cadence of your speech. And if this seems stilted or scripted, or I need to know.
Yeah.
But if I'm selling you my course that's self-paced and I get enough information, I sold one yesterday in a DM. She messaged me and she said, I've been thinking about working with you, but I know I'm not ready for your coaching yet. Can you talk me through what my options are? And I was like, sure. Can you let me know the answer to 2 questions? 1, do you have leads? And 2, do you have an active traffic source that reliably gets you leads each month? Because if the answer is no to those, then none of my sales products are going to help you, at which point you might want to get in my copy services, or I might refer you out to somebody who is a lead gen specialist, like a marketer that I trust. Mm-hmm. She said, yes, I have leads. And yes, they come in consistently. I just don't know what to do with them. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Would you mind telling me what your budget is and whether you're looking for something self-paced or whether you're looking for something that has an accountability component? I'm really good with taking courses. I'm perfectly fine with that. So I actually have a course. It's called Ask for the Sale course. It costs this much. She said, sounds great. I sent her the link. She bought it. It wasn't hard, right? Yeah. But I'd already built some know, like, and trust with this person. So she came to me credit card ready. And that's the ideal. Let me just put that out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Sales is people waking up going, that damn Natalie Bullen, I've got to give her my money today. That to me is the definition of sales. Coca-Cola, their ideal is for you to walk in Target, buy Coca-Cola, and walk out the store with it after you've paid for it. Their ideal is not having to send salespeople to your house, slide in your DMs. They'd probably stop running ads if they could. Their ideal is for you to want the product so bad that it's a no-brainer for you to purchase it. And so as a salesperson, I know no one talks about this, but the best thing you can do for your business is have an excellent product. An excellent product makes your sales so much easier. And excellent marketing can kind of eradicate your sales process. So I feel like a lot of people start on the wrong end. They have a crap process, an undefined ideal client, unsure sales process, and then start marketing to it. No, if you have an excellent product, your clients will start marketing for you. They'll start shouting you out on social for you. They'll start telling everybody they know for you. And then you'll wake up like me, 5, 10, 15 DMs a day from people who are payment ready, asking you the questions instead of you having to slide the DMs asking them. I do zero cold outreach these days because I don't have to. So I'm not saying don't ever do cold outreach, but I think if you're a sensitive person like me, rejection is hard for me. I would rather do the trust building up front and get people at least warm enough to go, oh, I see Natalie around. She's the one that posts all the time. She's probably safe. She seems, if nothing else, consistent and responsible. You know, it's worth seeing what she has to say. And most people just don't want to do that work. They just don't want to be consistent enough. Anybody listening to this podcast recording, I'm going to ask you one thing. Do you have the internet presence, the online presence, the consistency to where if you DM somebody, which is basically knocking on their virtual door, do you have enough backing? Does it seem valuable enough, your brand, for somebody to be willing to respond to you? If not, I would caution you from going down the slide in the DM route. You'll be sending hundreds of DMs a day, and barely any of them are going to get responded to. I've got maybe a 70, 75% response rate. When I DM people, they respond. It's really, really atypical. And the reason is because I've got strong brand goodwill already. Build you a foundation to where people want to hear from you. That way you're not knocking on so many doors getting ignored. Because it's hard having virtual doors slammed in your face and being invited to the block party. I don't want that for any of you, you know. And I'm happy to say that in the thousands, probably tens of thousands of DMs I've sent, I've actually never been blocked on Facebook from a person in the DM. So
wow.
Yeah.
You must be doing something right.
I don't disrespect people. I mean, it seems very easy to me. If I offered you something and you didn't want it and you said no and I left you alone, why would you block me?
Right, exactly.
You only block people who are incessant and won't go away, or rude, or scammy, or like you block people because they have done something disrespectful and you don't want it to continue.
Yeah.
If you don't do disrespectful stuff, then you eliminate the need for people to feel like they need to detach. I've had people tell me no in the DMs, but then connect me with someone else in the DMs. Like create a Facebook group and go, hey, I don't need this service, but this person I know needs the service. Imagine being able to send a DM that creates an unpaid salesperson for your business.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible. That's the power of asynchronous communication. And that's all that it is. Any bad stigma people have around DMs, that's just what you have experienced. But if you get out here and become an excellent salesperson, then you can start to showcase to people that DMs don't have to be bad. And they can start to build up more trust around them and trust around you. And if people go, look, I'm absolutely not going to pay you until we get on a sales call, send them a link and get them on a call. But at least then you know this person is worth your time on the call, because I've disqualified so many people in the DMs. DMs have saved me probably 4 sales calls a month. I mean, 4 hours a month that's not a small amount of time, right? And that's not to mention how much time I would have lost not selling someone into that spot. So if I've got 4 unqualified people on sales calls that I didn't know were unqualified because I'm not in the DMs, so I'm hoping that they're answering questions truthfully on applications instead of kind of filling them out case by case. How much money could I have made in those 4 hours had I been on the phone with people who were vetted? How much money could I have made if I had circumvented the call altogether? Once I realized there was tens of thousands of dollars at play, I said, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing from now on. So I am the DM person. And I get it's not for everybody. It's not for every service. But I do think there's a great opportunity to build rapport, if nothing else, and get like a warm referral network. I probably have 40 referral partners that I only use DMs with. I don't do connection calls or coffee chats. You know, I've really gotten tight about my calendar as a CEO. I really try not to book extraneous appointments. And so I think there's a huge opportunity being missed because of how people feel, like the visceral reaction to, oh my God, someone sent me a DM on Facebook. I think it works out great. As you can see, I'm like a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get why. And if we could all just like chill out a little bit about the DMs, it'd probably be better for all of us. Like, you don't have to freak out just because somebody sent you a DM and you don't know who they are. And we can all stop being weird about the way that we're DMing and take Natalie's advice, right? That's what I like about what you're saying is like, you're saying it's not for everybody, which I fully believe in most ways of how we're getting out there and selling ourselves and marketing and being known, right? Not everybody wants to be on a stage. Not everyone should be on a stage. Not everyone should have a podcast, whatever it is. Like everybody's got their thing that works for them. And that's great. But I loved what you said about how, now you have all of these referral partners that are bringing warm leads to you that you don't even know. Like that's what I'm always telling people about networking. And networking really is just creating connections, whether you're doing that at an in-person formal networking event or you're doing that in DMs. There's a way that you can create connections with people, real, genuine connections, and provide value to them that is going to make them want to invite you into their audience and invite their audience to connect with you too, which is awesome. And so much more time efficient.
This is it. It's time efficient because I'll have people who will DM me, hey, Nat, I went on your site and I'm not sure if, which service I should book into. 2-3 questions in the DMs and I realize I don't want them as a client at all.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can discourage them from wasting any more of their time on my website or any more of my time in my DMs. Imagine if I was one of those people who put up there no DMs under any circumstance and I was forcing all these people, whether they were ready or not, onto sales calls. The time wasted. Yeah. And the discouragement. Most people in business do not consider themselves to be salespeople. If you poll 1,000 entrepreneurs and ask them, is your primary function salesperson? Most of them are going to say no. People hate sales, or at least they think that they hate sales. So they have a deep-rooted aversion to it. Okay. Some people hate the money part and some people hate the whole thing. But either way, you have to ask yourself, how much time am I willing to invest with people who can never pay me or who aren't ready yet? How much screening can I do? So to me, it's just a no-brainer to get the basics. And yes, an excellent questionnaire can do this, but it is sales friction nonetheless. And like I said, we're outside the scope to talk through all of sales friction today, but sales friction is anything that makes it less likely that a prospect will move to the next stage of your sales process. If I desperately needed calls booked, I wouldn't have any questions. I'd have first name, last name, email address, right? I would ask you the questions on the phone because I need you on the phone because I have no leads. That's what I would do if I had no leads. I would screen people on the phone. I mean, I still have good copy that tells you what I did. Every question that you add, every hurdle that you make people jump through. I remember once, oh my God, I wanted to hire this coach. She had a 25 question questionnaire. Then you get an email and the day before the call, it was like, you have to watch this video and I'm going to ask you about the video on the call. If you haven't watched the video, I'm going to cancel the call. It was so much, but I thought to myself, this person's probably booked out, right? Her calendar's probably booked out. She doesn't need my money. And so she can involve this level of sales friction because she doesn't care if you book or not. But if you're not in that place where you are completely booked out, where you've got more money than you know what to do with, you need to be able to screen people effectively without running them off because of too much sales friction. And it's something about questionnaires. Everybody's brain does not do well with forms and paperwork. There are some people who just are not going to fill out a written questionnaire, no matter how good it is or how bad they want your service. Yeah. And so the good thing about DMs, they can leave a voice note. If you're a verbal processor, you can talk it out, what you're going through, and I can listen. I can listen to your intonation. I can tell if you're fearful right now. I can tell if you're excited right now. I can tell if you're the type of person who gets manic because you've left me 7 3-minute voice notes. So now I can think to myself, if I bring this person on as a client, am I going to have 30 minutes a day to listen to all these voice notes? You can learn so much more about a person than you ever would have learned had you just asked them static questions in a questionnaire.
Yes.
You
So
can never
true.
replicate that human connection. And when people hear your voice, they're more likely to purchase from you. That's why phone sales have always worked so well. There's a buying psychology. And if people don't hear your voice for the first time until the sales call, you've lost out on an opportunity. I like for all of my clients, before we get on the call, if they actually want a sales call, they're going to get a voice note from me in the DMs. I need them to hear my voice. And they're going to get a video and an email before we book. They're going to see my face and they're going to hear my voice because it works. So why would I want to strip my sales process of a human touch and not give people an opportunity to express? It's also good for people who aren't ready because they can talk through. When people say they aren't ready, I can ask, great, what would being ready for coaching with me look like? What would you need to have in place to be ready? You know how few people have even thought that through? Or when people go, I'm deciding if I want to work with a coach or not. Great. What kind of framework do you have to make decisions around high ticket purchases?
Yeah.
Crickets. People are like, what do you mean? What kind of framework do I have? You said you're making a decision. I take it is based on some type of data. Right. You have a process by which you make high ticket decisions. What is it? I literally had a woman who was like, I don't have a process. I said, okay, so how do you come to a decision then in a timely manner if you don't really have a process to do it? She was like, I don't know. So I literally gave her a process. This is how I process high ticket investments. These are the 3 things that I look for, and that's how I make my decision. And she was like, wow, I'm going to use that. I said, okay. 2 days later, she was like, I used your framework and I've decided that I want to move forward.
Boom. I
was like, great. Do you want to get on a call or you want me to send you a proposal? She's like, oh, the proposal's fine. She got the proposal. She signed the contract. She paid. She got in my 6-week program at the time. It was great. So I think there's so many use cases. That's why I cringe when I see people go, I hate DMs. I'll never use them for anything. Even if you aren't using them for direct outreach prospecting, hey, I have a thing and I want to sell it to you. To say I'm not going to use it at all to eschew all value, I think is short-sighted. I think that most people doing business online could benefit. And if you don't use DMs at all or check your DMs at all, there's money sitting there. There's money in your DMs. There is a lead that you have let go from hot to warm to cold that's probably hired somebody else by now, but that was ready because they're a magnet and people want that connection with the owner. Even if you have to install a bot, because I am thinking about putting a bot in my DMs just because of the volume to kind of screen people into, are you looking to purchase a service from us? And if so, kind of route them towards humans, towards me or my sales team. And then people who just kind of want to chill and hang out and vent and sell weird stuff, we can screen those people out. But even if you install a bot, you can still make tons of money. And on Instagram, there's a huge DM opportunity. If I was active on Instagram, I would buy ManyChat and I would set up a Word, DMX Word to get this. You can send freebies, classes. I mean, ManyChat is optimized for IG DMs. They have a very realistic bot over there that can engage back and forth with your prospects day and night to give them information. And you don't even have to be a coach. There's a woman who's like a fashion guru, fashion influencer. She wears these beautiful outfits. If you comment like outfit, ManyChat sends you a link. Hey, darling, here are the links to the outfits. She's probably making a fortune in affiliate links right now because she has an automation. So day or night, if you comment the word in the post, it will send it to you. I bought so many clothes from her affiliate links because of that automation that she has. Yeah. So I think the use case is infinite. When people say there's no reason for me to use DMs, I'm like, you just don't know how much power there is in it yet because you've been framed by your bad experience. I always ask people this. One, is it that you hate this service or that you hate how you're treated when you use the service, right? There's spam everywhere. Block and delete those people. They'll move on. And then 2, what are you losing by holding on to your belief? If you have a belief that all DMs are spammy, what are you losing because of that belief? If you're losing money or time or an ability to connect with your clients one-on-one, is that worth holding on to your belief? Yeah. If it's worth holding on to your belief, then you've wasted 38 minutes of your time listening to us. And I'm very, very sorry for that.
But it wasn't a total waste because
I'm like, damn it, that means I wasn't as compelling as I had hoped to be.
You convinced me. So That's good. Listen, man, anything that saves me time and anything that I can do to create connections without being a salesy weirdo, I'm here for it. So thank you.
I love it. That was great.
Yes. Thank you so much. This is awesome. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, should they DM you or like, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you and find out more?
They can. I'll give you my Facebook link. They're more than welcome. Tell me, hey, I listened to that podcast episode with you and Melissa Snow. It was badass. And I would love to learn how to DM. Don't you have a class or a training or something that you could sell me to teach me how to sell in the DMs, which I absolutely do. Or you can just go to my website. My website is unapologeticwealth.com, and you can learn all about me and my programs and see my case studies and get immersed in the world of Nat Bullen.
Love it. It's a fun world.
It is. I'm actually very proud of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's like a money winning Willy Wonka. Like it said, like chocolate fountains. They're like gold coins. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your wisdom with us. This was really, really good.
I enjoyed it. I got emphatic, but that's probably good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Hey, everybody. Did you love this episode? Did it change the way that you think about doing sales in the DMs? Or are you still like, no, absolutely not, that salesy weirdo stuff? I want to know. Drop into my DMs on Instagram and tell me. I want to know what you think. My link to follow me on Instagram, if you're not already doing it, is in the show notes. It's at Powerful Women Rising, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I would also love to see you in the Powerful Women Rising community, so definitely click that link and check it out. I will see you guys next time.